Welcome back to the LAMDA log. This is week 4. I think in the last video I mentioned something about week 5. That was silly. That was wrong. Last video was day 5 of week 3. But now we're on week 4, day 1, Monday, the 10th of August. Little catch up on the weekend. I saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the 2-part version. I only had to spend like 30 pounds on it, which was stellar. But not my show. I don't think the script is very good. I think it's very telly, and it just feels very much like fan fiction and fan service, and not a character driven story. My opinion. Anyway, but we continue. It's cool to be at the theater for like 5 hours on Saturday, though. More. No, it's a little. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes for the first one and 2.5 hours. So yeah, like 5 hours, 15 minutes. So we had our warm up today with our music and our dance as always. We were trying to figure out the story for the dance. So really figure out like what story are we telling? What is our intention? So we really worked on the dialogue and our intention behind it. And so we went story by story, focusing on that with Lawrence. Then we had jumped into rehearsal. So we had Shakespeare's Restless World podcast, and the item was plague proclamations. So the plague shaped all of Elizabethan minds and thoughts. So one of the items was the 1603 pamphlet. No, I'm messing that up. 1603 was the time that one of these came out, but it was also known as the Wonderful Year, which I didn't quite understand why. And it was the year Elizabeth died, which was tragic and terrible. And everyone was like, "Oh no, what happens next?" But James took the throne, and funnily enough, and most interestingly, there aren't plays that really deal with the plague, and it's a great mystery of history why that is. The plague was such a reoccurring phenomena and this pandemic of sorts, not of sorts, definitely, that affected so many people, but nobody wrote about it. James' reign started with pestilence and these plagues, and people's fear of people running away to spread the plague led to quarantine of sorts. And the bubonic plague, which is sometimes what they're talking about, there were a few different plagues, but the bubonic plague attacked the lymph nodes and made them swell and burst. Gross. And they came from fleas on rats in hot summers. And so infected families were quarantined for a month, and their houses were marked. They were marked with red crosses and with other things as well, and written words saying, "Lord, have mercy with us." In Romeo and Juliet, the friar is told that his letter isn't delivered to Romeo because they were shut up in quarantine. And so that's like the closest anyone gets to dealing with this pandemic. But that was something that was always on the mind. And so to have Mercutio say a plague on both your houses would be super like brutal thing to call out and to wish upon someone. James made some plague protocols to help mitigate the spread. Tobacco becomes super popular because it was supposed to protect against plague by surrounding you in smoke. Treacle and gunpowder was also supposed to be used and to help, which it didn't, I don't think. Crowd control was all that consistently worked to lower the death toll. And so Shakespeare wasn't able to play in London, and so they started traveling to the provinces outside. and that was kind of their first like touring theater. And then they'd play the big hits. A fifth of London's population died from the plague of 1603. A fifth, so 1 in 5 people died. After James was finally able to make his his triumphal procession through the streets, well, it was finally after the plague. The plague is similar to COVID, right? Um, we lived through a similar thing. I don't know. I have such a oh, I got a gunky eye. I have such a nonchalant, not calloused, but soft opinion on sickness because I don't get sick that much, and when I do, I get over it pretty quickly. And so even during COVID and everything, I got COVID. My wife got COVID. Um, but it just took me out for a week, and then people got COVID at school when I was teaching, and then we would sometimes go remote for a week or something. But I don't know. I don't think I felt the toll of it. No one that I knew passed away from COVID. Um, I didn't really see the results of that. But I know millions of people died. Lauren says, take the gift in the crap. It may be a crappy gift, but take it. Meaning that we had to live through COVID, but um, we were able to understand what it was like to a certain extent. So rich people were um, were able to move outside of London where the plague hadn't reached, and typically didn't because people just stayed where they were. Life is random and chaotic. People can't deal with that, and so they look for reasons and answers in a lot of different things. Elizabethans lived with death constantly. Everyone was much more used to it and comfortable with it. It wasn't a happy thing or a good thing per se, but everyone knew people who died. Everyone had children and siblings that died. And then death necessitates religion to answer why these things are hard. Charles, so like Elizabeth is Elizabethan time, Charles is a Caroline time. I think that's what Lauren said. I don't know if I got that right, but I thought that was fascinating. Elizabeth II, um, when she met Trump, um, she wore a brooch that the Obamas had given her, like Michelle and Barack. And then she arrived early and checked her watch in protest, which um, the the crown and the royalty are supposed to be bipartisan and non-political. That's something very important so that she can be a queen for all the people. And she has all of the jewelry in the world. But when meeting with President Trump, she chose the brooch that Michelle and Barack Obama had given her, and so she wore that. And then she wouldn't ever wear a watch because she has people telling her what time it is and where to go all the time. And so she chose to wear a watch and chose to arrive early, which she also never arrives early because everything's planned out for her so that she doesn't have to wait. But she came early and made a point of like looking at her watch and making him seem like he was late. And in her very posh and proper way about things, that was her protest, which is interesting to see how different um, worlds and circumstances and lives do things differently. Yeah, that's cool. Then we had a little team. Nope. Then somebody, our actress playing Beatrice is sick, and so we worked a few scenes without her because we were going to finish today, but there's a couple things we couldn't do without her. We did Dogberry and Barachia's exit. We did the funeral scene and song. Then we took a little tea break, and then we As we were looking at the funeral scene, Lawrence told us to look at the remembrance at the Cerataph, the remembrance at the Cerataph, which is a military procedure that they do once a year, I think, to commemorate the soldiers that fell during World War One or two, during one of the world wars, maybe all the world wars, maybe all the wars. But it's a very proper. It's kind of like the grave of the unnamed soldiers, where there's always a soldier out there, and it's very military and procedural. And so just to get that kind of idea in our bodies and how a military man would act at a funeral. And then think about how I stand, mourn, and experience this funeral as a prince and a military commander. The epitaph can't be casual. You use the meter, use the rhyme. We need to know our objectives and thoughts for the song. A song is just a sung speech. So we worked the dance dialogue some more. Oh, I guess that's where we really worked on it. And then it wasn't a super involved day for me, so that was that. I was kind of not feeling well, just emotionally. I was kind of out of it, um, so that was good. That I wasn't super involved, but then I was like, eh. So that was Monday the 10th. So here is the end. And hey, shout out Sandridge. See that new dent? Don't know where it came from. Love-bye.